Welcome back to Unlimited Reads. You're with Chris, and thanks for joining me today as I will be wrapping up what I thought was a sensational week as we move into the halfway point of October already. Pretty frightening, isn't it? So what did I get up to? Firstly, I did put up my video about a new product being released by YouTube on the 15th of October, 3-minute shorts, which I think could be a potential game changer, especially if I'm wanting to put up a very quick book review which is under 3 minutes. It's pretty convenient because you can save time on editing, and I think it will work well in conjunction with Opus Clip because I am thinking of recording some of my stories in audio format that I wrote quite some time ago, and it'll be just interesting for people to listen to the story and watch the text as it comes up as well. So it's going to be pretty good when it comes about. It's going to take about 3 weeks to launch in full. Now, I always like to do these videos. I did put up my last book haul of 2024. It was a decent stash that I showed off, and have been purchasing a few books of late, but that's going to wind down now as we draw to the end of the year. But it's always fun to share my recent purchases, to show them off, and I like watching book haul videos. I always have, and it's fun to record them as well because there's no scripting involved or anything like that. You just show off the books, which is awesome. So if you haven't caught that one, check out my stash. The highlight of the week though was having a guest author on the channel. I spoke to the first time Rhineverse contributor MP Woodward, who is the author of Tom Clancy's Shadow State, which I absolutely loved and reviewed favorably on the channel, and it was a pleasure to talk to him. He kindly agreed to come onto the channel because sometimes it's not easy to get people on the channel, but had a really good chat with him about his writing process, about the Rhineverse in general, and how he came to be a contributing author to my favorite series of all time. It went for about an hour, and he was so lovely and kind, and it was just really good to have a chat with him and finally get to speak to somebody who has been a contributor in the Rhineverse. And of course I do have Andrews and Wilson coming onto the channel in December, which will be great also, but it was just such a nice treat to have a pretty prolific author on the channel. As to what I read this week, I finished 2 books, the first of which was Salem's Lot by Mr. Stephen King. I absolutely loved this. This was a reread for me, but I hadn't read it since I was a teenager and forgot pretty much everything, and I was so glad to pick this up for spooky season. It was kind of appropriate. It was also appropriate because I'm very, very curious about the latest adaptation that is on HBO Max at the moment, which I can't wait to watch. After reading the book, I was floored by how good it was, and so much so that it inspired me to do something a little bit different, and that was a spoiler talk, which I just finished filming this morning. And once I clean it all up and add some post-production elements, I'll probably have that up on the channel for you on about Wednesday, I'm thinking, at this stage. But it was fun to talk about and to read a couple of excerpts from the book that I found quite notable, and it was just a great read. The second book I finished was The Death Watcher by Chris Carter, the latest Robert Hunter crime thriller series, and it was brilliant. Really liked it. There were pretty high stakes. This the killer that was featured in the book is someone who can pretty much fly under the radar with his crimes, because what he does, he makes out that the victims have sustained accidental deaths when in fact he has tortured them beforehand, and then poses the bodies in such a way as to fool the police into thinking that they have been run over or fallen off a bridge or committed suicide or what have you. And it's up to Robert Hunter and his faithful partner Garcia to actually solve the crime, and the climax was absolutely brilliant. Really loved it. Chris Carter is such a good writer, and the only regret was that it was over very quickly. I just tore through it in no time at all and just absolutely loved it. As to what I'm reading right now, I have to be honest guys, I am struggling through Frankenstein. I really want to like this book. I'm only about a third of the way through. I have stopped it to finish other books, but I have a problem with Victorian language on how books were written back then. yeah, I find it a little bit, it's hard to describe. I find it hard to process. So I'm going to try and persevere with it. I'm going to try and finish it by the time John over at Talking Story talks about it with Amy and Jacob, and hopefully I can share my thoughts on the live chat when they do that. But yeah, I'm going to give myself this week to see if I can finish it or not, and I don't want to DNF it. That would be embarrassing, but hopefully I can mow through it. But I am struggling a little bit at the moment with it, to be perfectly honest. As for next week's reading, guys, I am going to start To Ride Hell's Chasm by Jenny Wirch, her standalone fantasy novel that I have heard nothing but good things about. It's going to be the perfect primer for me before I start her series next year on January 1st, The Wars of Light and Shadow, and this one is about just under 700 pages, so it's a bit of a brick, but if I enjoy it the way I think I am, it should prepare me very well for her series next year, so I can't wait for that one. If I manage to finish that before next weekend, I'm going to pick up a different book. I decided to swap out Nathaniel by John Saul and replace it with another book, purely because I enjoyed Salem's Lot so much as a reread after decades. I hadn't read that one since I was 15. Another book I hadn't read since I was 15 because I've been afraid of it is Pet Sematary, which I've finally decided to pick up again, which I don't know how I feel about it. The book scared me shitless as a kid, and all I can remember about the book, the main thing that sticks in my head even to this day, is the deformed sister Zelda hidden away in the back room. Now, I had forgotten a lot about what happens in the book. It's going to be interesting how I process certain elements of the book as an adult and a parent now, because there are a lot of parental issues and elements in the book, and it's just going to be interesting to see if I scare as easily as I did when I read it as a teenager. But I enjoyed Salem's Lot so much that I thought, look, I'm going to pick up Pet Sematary. It's kind of appropriate for spooky season, and can't wait to share my thoughts on that with you all. I might even do a spoiler chat again for that one, so bring that on. So there you go, guys, that is it for my weekly update for this week. Thank you very much for watching. If you like my videos, please consider subscribing. Help me get to the 1,000 subscriber mark and beyond. But until the next video, guys, happy reading.